Hi, my name is Frank Blankenship, and I'm sitting here with Brian Henley. Brian Henley was the object of a MindFreedom human rights campaign when he was forcibly treated at Northeastern Florida State Hospital in McLenny. Now, Brian, could you tell us a little about what it was about, how you got into Northeastern? What happened there?
I was, after spending about 9 months in another hospital called Lifestream out of Leesburg, Florida, I was sent to the state hospital from that point.
So how much time in all did you spend between live streams and the state hospital?
Pretty much, it was about 4.5 years roughly.
4.5 years. I heard something like 4.25.
Yeah, I need to get the exact date to really. My mind is so clouded by that point, that memory, that I don't even know exactly.
But this institutionalization, this going into the hospital, you weren't going of your own free will and volition, were you?
No, I wanted to be out, be with my family, just try to be as gentle and kind and insightful, and just I was in the middle of trying to finish my my master's program at the university when I was first diagnosed with mental illness.
Well, how did you end up in the hospital?
I'm under a agency, part of an agency called the Department of Children and Families calls the FACT team, which stands for Florida Assertive Community Treatment, and I was Baker acted by the Dr. Bradley Broyles.
Is this to say that you were Baker acted by your FACT team, or that they advised your doctor to have you Baker acted?
They had a Baker Act against me and came to my house and said, you can either come with us or come with the police.
I think we need to explain to people what the Baker Act is. For those that don't know, it's a 72-hour hold. That's 72 hours, 3 days. And what happened after you were Baker acted? Did they start commitment procedures?
I tried to do a writ of habeas corpus, but it failed. And then once I did get when my 3 days and a certain period elapsed, they decided they would move me to another wing, and didn't really tell me that I was going to state at that point in time, but I was putting into another compartment within Lifestream.
Another compartment?
Yeah, and then after about 2 weeks, I actually got in front of a judge that was on closed circuit TV.
So you tried to contest the hearing, the results of the hearing, with you appealed the decision.
Yes, I tried to.
And you failed because they would not accept your plea of habeas corpus?
No, and my dad didn't help out when he had the chance to get me out of there, but he was active in NAMI and the National.
But this is the second time you used a writ of habeas corpus, right? The
Yes.
first time you were successful.
Yeah, I have had one lucky end of the 72-hour vacation.
How do you feel about your hospitalization? Did you need to go in there? I mean, this is 4 years and 4 years of your life wasted.
Well, and then 8 years prior to that, concentrated within the system, until I guess I pressed too many buttons and.
Excuse me. What do you mean by 8 years before that?
Well, starting at student mental health care at the University of Florida, and then moving further and further south from Ocala to Leesburg area.
there was this 4 years. How do you feel about forced treatment? Did you feel that there should be an option, that people need a choice? Do you feel that you should have, that this was right, what they did for you, that it was something that was needed, and that there was no other way that they could have handled you?
No, I mean, I try to be I do oppose forced psychiatry, but from the inside, when you do that and you try to help people gain their rights, you get labeled as a difficult patient. And I've been injected against my will. I've been thrown in confinement cells for 3 days, no food. Some of these people at the top have been very brutal.
Could you tell us a little about the drugs that you've been on during confinement, about the side effects and some of the aspects of having these drugs forced on you?
It seems like they're playing a game of magical pills to see which one I'm going to, where am I going to fall. And I've been trying to work with the psychiatrist, Dr. Broyles, so where I get within a safe level. I believe the lithium has had some negative effects on me. I believe that the almost all of the antipsychotics I've had very bad reactions to, the Sapphiris and Abilify and some of the other new ones, Invega. But whatever they gave me when they shot me the last time at live streams, I ended up in a coma in the ER at LRMC.
A coma?
Mm-hmm. I didn't know.
Is this when you had the heart attack?
It was stroke, heart attack. I got lack of oxygen to the brain, and I passed out on the floor.
So you were out for 3 days after the last time they gave you some form of neuroleptic drug.
Yes.
You don't happen to know what this neuroleptic was? Invega or
one of the newer ones was the Invega. They also tried, despite my knowledge of Abilify, they still gave it to me.
But you're saying part of what I understand is you actually had a heart attack, and this is because you have heart arrhythmia. Were you born with heart arrhythmia?
I have heart murmur.
You have a heart murmur.
Yes.
Were you born with that heart murmur?
Yes.
So there's some question about whether they should be giving you these drugs anyway, which can cause cardiac complications. And in your case, here you are, you had a heart attack, you were out for 3 days.
Yep.
You also said something about seizures, that you have had neuroleptic-induced seizures.
I had a psychedelic trip that was that ended up in having a seizure. It took me 3 hours to go about 30 miles, and I hadn't taken any food before taking Seroquel. Mm-hmm. And Seroquel, immediately my blood pressure went up, and I was like trying to get fresh air outside of my driver's side window, and some cop followed me, and it was just not a very I was under the influence of pharmaceuticals. I wasn't under any other influence, but that was a very strong influence.
Was this when you found out that when you first had a seizure?
No, I had that before with having photosensitive light epilepsy. Even I get tremors, and I occasionally get stronger, more blackout seizures where I wake up with a bruised head. And
did you have seizures before you took neuroleptic drugs?
Before I was sensitive in some situations, but the combined effect of my sensitivity, I believe when I was first treated at the Student Mental Health Center, it wasn't as important of a negative physical it wasn't as much of a physical problem. My heart murmur was more, and getting oxygen to the brain.
Well, what I'm asking is, before you were on neuroleptic drugs,
right?
Because neuroleptic drugs lower the seizure threat, lower the threshold for a seizure. Did you have seizures?
Nothing on the order of what I've had since I was Shands.
Did you have seizures before you were on neuroleptic drugs?
No.
So you never had seizures before you were introduced to
right.
neuroleptic drugs?
It just happened when I first...
Do you think it would have helped if maybe you were not introduced to these neuroleptic drugs?
I could have probably avoided 5 years in the state hospital and not fallen into as many traps as I have been, sort of. I mean, 4 years is a long time for anybody to be imprisoned in a hospital, basically imprisoned. You were not free during this time. And for the first year, my shaking on my hands was so bad that I couldn't even dial out to talk to my dad, to talk to my 2 little ones, to talk to my former wife. And now, when DCF started getting involved in with the FACT team, it's gotten worse.
When did you get out of Northeastern State Hospital?
Let me see if I can put a date on it now. Okay, 12, December 2009.
So you've been out of the state hospital now for about almost 3 years.
Yes.
And now you're living in an assisted living facility. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Most of my assisted living being dropped off from one and taken to another and by this FACT team. This one is one of the dirtiest, negative-spirited. I mean, they say we love veterans on their business card, but I don't know what type of veterans. I mean, I wouldn't hang out with these guys.
Could we back up a little? I want to go back to Northeastern because I had a question about, I heard you said to me that you were subjected to some violence over at Northeastern State. Could you tell us about that?
Well,
from what you were telling me, it was patient-on-patient violence, but it was backed up by the staff. Maybe the staff were sort of supporting.
The most serious incident is when my roommate, my other 2 roommates, and a Navy SEAL tech beat my head against the wall, and I woke up on like the 5th floor of Baptist General Hospital, them putting staples or stitches in my head. It was almost every day there was some, and their words were like sawed-off shotguns. They would say, "So how you doing, shorty?" and just real negative, just like their words were like bullets.
Well, I mean, I heard that you actually woke up in the infirmary or something, that you were put in the hospital at some time or other. Could you tell us about this?
That's a continuation from the episode with my head. I had decent treatment once I woke up in the hospital, but they were still ferrying me around to x-rays, CAT scans, as much as they could cost the government.
Do you know how you ended up in the hospital at this time?
I don't know if it was under a Baker Act or how they actually that particular incidence, but there were bad instances with the nurse trying to deliver Ativan needles and.
Well, what I was trying to talk about before was violence on you. I mean, I thought that you.
Well, I was assaulted by 7 black police security guards when they thought I was prostituting my iPod. They were actually accusing me of allowing people to borrow an iPod in return for favors or something.
Okay, where was this?
Well, this occurred. The people who wrote the that information were Barbara Ann Gregg and Sylvia Hill, and they were the 2 nurse that they weren't even nurse practitioners. They were like the bodyguards for the gate.
And this was at the hospital?
Yes.
All right. At the assisted living facility that you're now at, You're required to take psychiatric drugs, right?
Yes.
And this has something to do with the fact team that you see.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel like you could go off these drugs without being put back in the hospital?
I would like to wean down the most dangerous of the ones. I've gotten the Abilify and some of the Saffris, but I'm still very sedated and would like to feel more energetic and have the love of life. Some of it's been taken from me, my children. And
Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you have the choice to go off? Are you able to go off these drugs now? If you wanted to, could you do that?
I could definitely do it, but it's delivered in such a way that unless you cheek it, or it's like mass processed people feeding and pills.
Well, the question I was trying to ask is like this.
Yes.
Do you feel that you could that the fact team is applying pressure on you to take these pills, that you are not in a position just to go off them because you could end up back in the hospital because of the fact team?
If I went off of them, the fact team under Dr. Bradley Broyles and Theresa Morales, the administrator, and Susan Burrows, my case manager, all three of those would kind of swoop in and take me away to a hospital somewhere because I was medication non-compliant.
That is to say that if you went against medical advice, then they would probably have you Baker Acted.
Yes.
You feel certain that this would happen. Have you been threatened with the Baker Act?
This has happened before. I've known Dr. Broyles for 12 years, and I know what kind of shit you can pull.
So you're in a situation where you really aren't offered a non-drug alternative, where if you present the possibility of going off these drugs that they're given to you, you are threatened with the Baker Act,
yes.
with being Baker Acted, and
yes.
put in the being evaluated, detained for evaluation, which could result into a commitment hearing, which could send you to Northeastern Hospital.
Right, and I mean, I don't know what my legal grounds of doing things, but I would rather be in one of my heart's center, which is actually in Athens, Georgia. So I'm drawn there and wondering what the repercussions will be. Maybe MindFreedom as an organization can kind of support me and a few people to do a Mind Shield alert on to keep them so they don't do this to people in the future.
Well, MindFreedom is for choice.
Yes.
So if you didn't want to take these drugs, if you thought they were harming you,
yes,
there should be an option, another option besides just drugs.
Right.
And do you think that there will be a time maybe when you will not be on psychotropic drugs, when you will not when you will have control over the situation?
Well, I've kind of been like a punch toy volunteer. The Department of the Decimation of Children and Families, they just were too strong. I was trying to fight them off, but I was just one person. I helped write a magazine, Community Creativity, Hope and Love. I did as much as I could for the team, and now we just, the committee kept getting worse, the fact team.
You're not exactly in an independent living situation, would you say?
No.
Do you think we could use more independent living situations for people coming out of the hospital?
Most definitely, and respite care and drop-in center combined. We all need a place to kind of ward off our post-traumatic hospital syndrome and stuff. We gotta be able to take a breath and calm down.
But you would like to be in a place where you had the option, where you could, if you wanted to take a psych drug, you could. If you didn't, you didn't have to. Where that option would be up to you, and it wouldn't be decided by a psychiatrist or somebody else.
That would seem more American than German to me. I have dealt with the German psychiatrist I had was just absolutely hilarious. He was crazy.
Do you see things as getting better? Do you see a time when life will be what you want it to be?
I believe if enough people of all creeds and intellectual what I'm trying to say is, if with the mega brain, the powers of the mega brain, if we can have a brain assance and wake people up from all the propaganda advertising in Reader's Digest or virtually anywhere where they're giving away samples by the kilo, it seems, and I want my son to live in a better place than this is right now.
Well, that's not exactly the question I'm trying to ask you. The question I'm trying to ask you is, do you think that at some point in your life you will be living the life you want to live?
I believe that the grass is greener on the other side of the pastures, and that I can reach that level, but I'll need help from friends in order to shield me from the persecution that I've been under whenever I've been in a hospital.
You're out of the hospital now?
Yes.
You've been in there recently?
I had a heart problem, and I collapsed in front of the Checkers restaurant on 40, and I had to go to the ER for that, and then I ended up at the...
This is when you were out for 3 days,
yes,
right?
Yep.
This is because you had a heart attack.
Yes. The accumulated poisons that are in your fat cells in your body, during the summer there's a lot more death rate because of heart attacks than in any other season. And if you're taking drugs and you don't get enough electrolytes in your bloodstream, you're even more prone to having a heart attack. You're
not on a neuroleptic drug at this time, are you? Although you're on quite a few psychiatric drugs, benzodiazepines, and an antidepressant and that kind of thing.
Yeah, Dr. Broyles, as soon as I got out of the hospital, nixed the order for an antidepressant and also nixed Keppra, which appeared to have less side effects than Depakote or Trileptal or anything, but I only have tried it for a short period of time.
Yeah, you have a treatment plan, don't you, that sort of has got you staying in your assisted living facility for a certain amount of time because you signed this treatment plan. Now, how do you feel about this? This is something you can't get out of. You have, from what you were telling me, you have 18 months on this treatment plan?
I have to
you have to live in the assisted living?
Between 8 and 16 months without hospitalizations.
And that's what they require before you could write up a new treatment plan.
I suppose. They keep drafting new ones, so it's hard to keep up with what was the true past history and what the status I am today.
Do you think you could get this treatment plan keeps you moving from the assisted living facility, doesn't it? You're tied to the assisted living facility for a number of months.
I've only signed. I might have signed a 1-year contract. I don't know. I signed a document that said I'd be billed about $1,200 for 1 month, and I don't understand all the legal rigmarole and the fact that my Social Security money disappeared, and something's not right.
You're not getting much money where you're at.
$1 a day.
You get $1 a day, and that's it.
But
that's what you live on during the week.
But I probably spend $100 of pharmaceuticals in 1 week easily. I probably get closer to $750 or $1,000 of pharmaceuticals every month.
Can you leave this assisted? Do you have to? Can you leave the assisted living facility without a change in your treatment plan?
Well, I would have the first thing I would have to do is I'd have to take a stand against the FACT team. They aren't my mommy. They aren't my folks. They're just parasites put together to cause a lot of problems. And I would like to be able to leave, but I don't know what the legal ramifications, how I will pay for the next month's rent, or I've been homeless before, so I know that's an option, and sometimes it seems like it might be the wiser option, that I'd get better care.
Would you seriously consider going homeless?
It has crossed my mind.
I mean, that would give you more power and more options.
Right.
But it seems like this is one of the playing cards that the fact team uses against you.
Yeah, they'll still be searching for me. I mean, I'm not, even if I don't, I would rather officially resign from the fact team with two of my best friends, Ernest from Jamaica and Paul Dill, if I can convince him that he can earn more money this way than supporting the NAMI and Livestream.
What about something like an intentional living community? Is that something that sounds good to you? Because I have a lot of misgivings about the mental health system, and here's something that puts you as another person among people, rather than being in a situation with people who are felt to be disabled or incapacitated, not in the right mind.
I wonder if there are any of those near Athens, Georgia.
That's something to look into. I mean, I think there are intentional communities in different places about the country, and I would think that would be a much better way to go than to sign your life away to a fact team.
I'm tired of. I actually designed a T-shirt that says "I got fucked by the fact team." So, anyways, I was going to say something else, but I can't think of what it was.
Well, do you see an independent living situation in your future? Do you think you will be able at some point to get out of under the auspices of an assisted living facility or a group home? Sort of like what I feel are the only options some people have coming out of the hospital when they don't have a family to take them back or things like that. They've got like two options. One is an assisted living facility, the other is a group home, and in both of these, they very rarely is there a lot of choice. They're forced to take drugs, or else, like you mentioned, one could go homeless if they had the backbone for it.
Right. But I mean, in order to most be able to get into balance with my dad and my mom and my two little ones and Christina, I've got a lot of family issues that need to be resolved too, that I haven't had the energy, because when they put me on that Wellbutrin, I was sleeping 20 hours a day, and I don't want to live my life that way. Okay,
well, back to the question I was asking you. Do you see a time when you will be in an independent living situation? When you will no longer be in an assisted living facility or a group home?
I've been praying for less barbed wire fences and less, or chain link fences, and I've been praying to get away from things that you can't have better food with better nutrients, more organic, or because I know that the micronutrients are very important in the brain.
Well, was that a yes or a no?
I think that it's...
So that you think things are getting better, and you think eventually you will be in an independent living situation and you will not be stuck in a group home?
I'm hoping that the fall of the Fourth Reich of pharmacies is going downhill now. I hope. It really got to be a brutally enforced diet that did not help our government's national debt through Obamacare.
Do you think forced treatment is needed for anyone?
Well, they used to wrap people around in ice cold blankets and turn them around counterclockwise before ECT and before chemical castration with chemicals.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think the system what should be done about people in distress? Is there another way to treat people in distress besides locking them up in an institution against their will and treating people who do not want to be treated?
I would say that for somebody who is in dire straits and may just need somebody to talk to, that some sort of chat line could probably surface, like eHarmony or something, or and while the people who survived the forced psychiatry, then they can kind of band together a little bit. As for other things,
what about a
shelter? Yeah. Definitely something that allows for an alternative to the two institutions in town, the Vines and the Centers.
What about a place where a person could do anything they wanted to, and that would be up to them, and there would be no one standing over them saying this isn't something you should or shouldn't do. You could just go through whatever it is you're going through and end up on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, we used to roam around a lot more, and I believe that people have very limited access to nature or to other healing things, gardening. I'm not sure, I dodged around that question a little bit, and I can't remember exactly where it began. That's part of this problem I'm having with the Wellbutrin is I try to talk, and only part of it comes out. And
do you think you've gotten any better for any of the treatment that you've received?
I started thinking that it might be best to go back to the Vines, but I don't want too many strikes on me, because every strike I get is one closer to McLenny, and I don't want to go back there.
I realize that, but do you think that so you're happy being free now? You don't want to. You're happy being outside of the hospital. That's not a good environment. That's not where you would have anyone stay.
That is a very barbaric German concentration camp up there. It's like the Auschwitz of Florida.
Tell us about this person. What happened after this person tried to escape from McLenny, and that incident, if you will.
I'm only going by internet, but apparently there was a lockdown done at McLenny after a guy who scaled the fence got hit by a semi-truck. I don't know anybody to.
So he tried to escape, and in the process of escaping, he died. Yeah. And so since then, there's been a lockdown at McLenny, and people there are treated to worse treatment.
It's harder.
There's more austerity, and it would be even more difficult for a person to get out now than did before this incident.
Yeah, they increased the security, the rate of security officers, and shallow teachers who had to take medication management and medication this, and but they probably increased that type of forced programming of.
So you're happy to be free now? You're happy to be on the outside, and you're looking forward to a future on the up and up,
yes.
Living in an independent fashion.
And I would really like to see one of my friends there, Holly, who's in ward number 7, and she needs all the prayers in the world, because it's more violent in there than it was in mine.
So it's really violent in the ward she's in. She's a girl.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pray for Holly and hope that she's out soon.